But coming up to the end of lap 9, and this is where the race changes ever so slightly. So coming out of that right hander, I was just so focused on getting that left hander right that, hey, welcome to Spa everyone, and this is a wet qualifying, and what you're about to hear is shit. Yeah, it's just somebody who's not really raced a lot in the wet, and I just always felt like driving in the wet was one of my weak points because I've not had enough practice, but still wasn't that underconfident. And coming up into this quali session, I knew that I had the pace in the dry, and thankfully the race was in the dry. So just this quali session to negotiate, and we come around for our first flying lap, and that was a 1:53.4. But the track was just getting so much faster with every lap that I would set a lap and then it'll get toppled by whoever was behind me. So now we come on to the fastest lap, which we did, struggling for traction out of the bus stop chicane. And now we come onto the main straight, going up into La Sauce at the 100-meter board just before it, brake in a straight line, and then before coming onto the power, just feathering the throttle pedal, not going on power really abruptly because that really breaks traction. And once you feel that you have enough traction, just bam on the throttle pedal. Coming up to Eau Rouge and Radion, and very important to not do anything extraordinary, no heroics into Eau Rouge in the wet, and just downshifting once and taking it almost semi-flat, but into Lacombe we go. And very important to get the right line, because if you take too much speed in, it just compromises all of the next three corners in the line. But if you happen to make it a slow in fast out kind of a sequence, it's just ideal. So coming up into this corner, very important to not lock up on entry and run wide, but we do that ever so slightly. But coming out of there into No Name, just very important to carry that momentum, because you don't want to lose time coming out of that section, because you need the speed for Puhon, and through Puhon staying relatively committed 6th gear and then short shifting on exit, because you want the better exit coming out of that section. Coming up into campus just when the curve starts braking, and then very important to hug the inside for longer than you'd expect, because what follows is a left-hander and you need to be on the right line for this left-hander as well. Coming up into Stavelo, and extremely important to carry the right speed out of this corner, because what follows is a very long flat out section and you need that straight line speed or else you lose time. So thankfully the Renault pulls to the side and we have a free run into the bus stop chicane. Coming up to Blanchimont, not flat out, still just carrying that momentum but still not taking it flat out because I was not confident. And then this is a very crucial breaking point, because you run in too deep and you lose time, but at the same time if you take it too slowly you will lose even more time. So out of that bus stop chicane, looking for traction, and when it does arrive again, bam on the throttle, and it is a 1:52.7. And I was on a faster lap, you can see towards the end of the session I was about 4 tenths up, but just the game did not invalidate my lap, but I did not see it fit to carry on with that lap. So we would finish in P5 after this quali session, and although I felt that I had the pace to be around P2 or P3, I was just happy to be in the mix on row 3, because I know that I can manage to get better starts than people in front of me. So now it was about the strategy, and it was just the more logical thing to do, in my opinion, going for that alternate strategy, because there was no tire wear on any of these tires, and I'd already qualified in P5, and I was actually expecting P3 and P4 to go for the soft or medium strategy, and I knew that I had the pace to keep up with them in DRS, but everyone's on medium, so I need to get a really good start. So he slides out in Spa and we get a lightning start. We're already in P4 even before reaching the 4th gear, and coming up into the sauce, we would be the car leading this pack coming out of the turn 1, and just pushing the Mercedes slightly wide because I didn't want him to try anything into Eau Rouge or Radion, and we would be the car leading this pack coming up onto the Camel Straight. So we're in P1, and just as expected, the top 3 are just very similarly matched in terms of pace, as you'll see, and on the Camel Straight just looking behind constantly to see if the Mercedes wants to make a move, but thankfully he was not on this very first lap. So P5 to P1 in the matter of one corner on the race start. This might just be my best race start of the season, but it was now very critical for me to maintain this position, because I knew everybody behind me, we were all very similarly matched in terms of pace, and just with DRS and all, it just gets very tricky, although we're taking in stuff. But now even on lap 1, fairly committed through Wuhan, and this is what I learned. After my race in Hungary, I just did not want to play the waiting game anymore. I just wanted to give it. The moment I thought I had an opportunity, I just wanted to seize it. And coming up onto lap 2, as you can see, we set the fastest lap, which holds was just about half a second, because everyone behind us is just very, very fast as well. So on to lap 3, and now the dynamics change a little because the people behind us will have DRS, and it just helps so much with the ERS saving and the fuel saving, because if you're following a car for on a straight that is that long, it's just very easy to maintain that gap with DRS, because even if you lose some time in sectors 2 and 3 on that straight, you can just about gain back that time very efficiently. So lap 6, and we do a personal best 46.1, so not too bad, to be honest. I think I had the better pace out of the two cars behind me. At least I felt that way on that occasion. But you can see the Mercedes behind just not interested in my slipstream, so I knew that these guys were playing the waiting game. And another thing that I did know, that these guys were running slightly more aggressive setups, so I knew that towards the end or towards the closing stages of the first stint, these guys would have worse off tires than I would, and yeah, that was my plan pretty much. So using a little more ERS, you can see that we have about 30% in the storage left, but I was very, very interested in just stretching out that gap as we do a 1 minute 45.8. So the medium tires just coming alive. They do come alive around lap 9 or 10 of the usage, but now the medium tires just coming alive for me, and as you can see on the very next lap itself, a 45.6. So yeah, when the tires are in the right window, it's just very, very crucial to make the most out of them, and I was just pushing at this point. But coming up to the end of lap 9, and this is where the race changes ever so slightly. So coming out of that right-hander, I was just so focused on getting that left-hander right that for a moment, for a very brief moment, I just could not see that safety car had been deployed, and that was a fault pretty much. But I just wanted to stay as close to the delta as possible, and thankfully we come out in front of the safety car and we're in negative delta, so at least we're not making any invalidations and we're still in front of the safety car. So we have one more lap, and all this lap it was a very hard decision in terms of the strategy, but pitting for the softs. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
After an entire lap of discussing with my race engineer and just thinking about the race strategy, I finally decide to pit for the soft tires, and I knew that 10 laps these tires just might last, because these are new tires, and whenever I did race simulations, you have 3 laps of quali, and then you can stretch the tires to around 8 laps. So this race start would be crucial, because I just did not want to make the same mistake which I made in Hungary. So I knew that right from the word go, I had to be as aggressive as possible, because once I get into P1, and that has to be very soon, I just want to stretch that gap as much as I can. So coming up into La Sauce, braking as late as I can, and you can see how much of a difference the tire compounds make. So we get a much better run out of La Sauce, and just did not want to close up enough coming up into Eau Rouge and Radion, because that kind of unsettles the car. But now it's on the Kemmel straight, and it's very, very crucial to pass the Mercedes. So we try to make him defend the outside going up into Lacombe, but he chooses to defend the inside throughout the straight and going up into Lacombe, and we brake as late as possible. And going up into Lacombe, I knew that this is not a corner to stick the car around the outside. Still wanted to have a look, but I knew that I will have to back out sooner or later. And just reaching the apex of the corner, I think the Mercedes kind of outbrakes himself and also understeers a little, and this is where we feel the first bit of contact right at the apex of the first of the Lacombes. And you can see the moment I feel that impact, I completely lift off, because I knew that there was no point just carrying on with it. But because the tires were pretty much in contact for all of that corner, I was pretty much a passenger at this point, because if you make sudden movements or brake too suddenly when you have contact with another car, you run the risk of spinning or just even getting damage. So I just did not want that. And unlike Hungary, where I conceded my position because I thought I was in the wrong, on this occasion I had no idea what to do in that situation. So I knew that I had P1, and I just did not want to think about what happened over there too much. So I knew that I had the gap, I had the position, and now I had the gap which I needed to stretch. So you can see out of Wuhan we were already 1.5 seconds in front, and lap 14 it's a 1 minute 44.9, and I was pretty much driving like this was a quali lap. And on the very next lap itself, it's a 1 minute 44.7, so 2.6 seconds in front. And I knew that I just had to continue doing what I was doing at this moment, because the softs towards the end of the race would not be the best tire. But coming up into Puhan, and as you can hear from my radio, fuck off. Yeah, there is another safety car, and I knew that this might give all the people behind us the opportunity, the front runners. And if they pit and if they manage to come out on the soft tires behind me, I would be pretty much a sitting duck with these worn softs. So still, even coming up to the pit lane entry, I was still very confused and very much in a fix, but finally decided against pitting. And the Renault behind also continues on the hard tires, but the Mercedes pits for soft. So he lost a lot of track positions, but I knew that I just needed to get a really good safety car restart. So I knew that the Renault would just be very close coming out of this corner, and I took the wide line to confuse him, because I knew that he would think that I would go right now. But I just felt a thud from behind, and this is when I knew that I needed to go, because I knew that this is when the other people behind us would be out of balance. And you can see this is a mega safety car restart. We're already 1 second in front in just a matter of one corner, and I knew for the next 3 laps I just needed to be on song pretty much. And I knew that the hard tires would be the faster tire on the very last lap maybe, but if I could just stretch a gap and maintain that, I knew that it would not be fast enough to close that gap on the very last lap itself. So just trying to get the right lines, not trying to do anything extraordinary, just trying to maintain the right lines, and yeah, just carrying momentum through every corner. And now on the penultimate lap, I think this is where the race kind of shifts for me, and this is a second warning of the race, and one more warning means that I would be getting a 3 second time penalty. And the Renault behind, he's just following so closely that I knew that if I made one more mistake in sectors 2 and 3 on the next lap, it would be for certain he would jump us in terms of penalties. So coming up to sector 2 now on the next lap, and you can see the gap right now is 1.5 seconds, but now I have to take the most cautious lines going through these 2 sections, and you can see I'm avoiding curves like they're the plague. And you can see the pace difference is already closed half a second in a matter of 2 corners. And I think he was on a push lap, but still the pace difference should not have been this drastic. And coming up into Puhan, as cautious as I could have been, just avoiding curves on the outside and then on the inside and then on the outside again, and coming up into campus again. This is a very common place for penalties, so I knew that I had to just be on my toes pretty much. And this last section, this last Stavolo section, if I could just get this right, I knew that I had enough in my battery to just deploy on this very last straight. And it was just about getting bus stop right, because it's just very crucial with the traction there. So coming up into bus stop, you know, the Renault behind is about 4 tenths behind me, so I knew that he would not make a move that is that audacious. And going up into bus stop and coming out of there, I knew that if I get the traction right, I would have done the job.
Yes!
And yeah,
Yes, you did it.
what you're hearing is just raw
Awesome,
emotion.
man.
GG.
Yes, GG dude, first win. Congrats, man, congrats.
Fucking finally. But yeah, having
Yes,
started 4 months ago,
P5.
and this is not
Awesome.
a lobby that's not competitive, and just winning this race in terms of pace and not really luck, you know, just pace and strategy played out for me. You know, it's just a good feeling, and I know that now that I have this first one out of the way, you know, there are a lot more coming. So the first win in Spa, which also happens to be my favorite track, and you know, 25 points from this race, although Maranello baby would be getting 19 points out of this race. So we've only managed to close 6 points of that gap, but I'm happy to take this win, and we are at 164 points behind P1, and we have to close a gap of 76 points in the next 8 rounds. So it would not be easy, but I'll definitely give it everything. And now that this first win is out of the way, I can drive with a lot more confidence, I feel. So thank you for watching, thank you for staying till the end. If you happen to enjoy that, then make sure you let me know in the comment section down below, and do all the good stuff. Give this one a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel. But as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you very soon in the next video.